For nearly half a century, Casey Kasem encouraged radio listeners to keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. He died on Sunday at a Seattle area hospital. He was 82 years old. This fan left a tribute at his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Kasem hosted American Top 40 for 24 years. Hundreds of radio stations around the world carried his weekly countdown of Billboard magazine's hit singles. Joe Levy is Billboard's editor-at-large and joins us at the table. I'm with Nora. I used to listen to it every Sunday. I love this show. So when it debuted, only 5 stations carried it, Joe.
Came out of Los Angeles in 1970. It started small with 5 stations and grew to hundreds very quickly. And understand that in 1970 on FM radio, it wasn't about the top 40. It was about long Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin songs. It was about the counterculture. And here comes Casey Kasem with the idea that I want to make a show for mom and dad and the kids in the back seat in the car. Bring these old school values and the values of your hit parade, you know, from the 1940s and 50s on television to FM radio in 1970. Nobody thought it would work. It was a smash.
It didn't take long for it to catch on. Why do you think it resonated so?
You know, it's so interesting that it did at that time. At that time, as I say, it was about the counterculture, and there was that idea that it was all protest, it was all division. As the saying goes, the center could not hold, and he provided a center. Top 40 was local up until that point. Every radio station had their own way of doing it. He brought Billboard's Top 40 to the nation. All of a sudden, we were all gathered around the radio listening to the same man tell us the same things.
But he said that what was most important was not the songs, but what he said in between them.
You know, for me, it was both. He was a fount of biographical information and trivia. He didn't invent that either, but he delivered it so well. And he didn't love the songs maybe the way that I did as a kid, listening to him count them down. So he might have been more interested in what he was saying. I was more interested in what's that new David Bowie song and what number is it on the chart.
Yeah. But didn't he have such a signature style? I mean, I just love his biography, too. I mean, his name was Kemal Kasem. His parents were Lebanese immigrants who owned a grocery store in Detroit. And then he became one of the most signature broadcasters of all time.
Well, you think about it. It's an American dream story, American Top 40. He's the son of immigrants. He wants to be a movie star. He did have parts in movies, but they were generally B movies. But not just famous for American Top 40, but also the voice of Shaggy on Scooby-Doo. In my life, he ruled both Saturday and Sunday mornings when I was a kid. He was always there.
Are the countdowns still relevant today, do you think? I love the VH1 Top 20 countdown.
I know, and you and I do, and we're of a different era. It's very different now. If you want to know what the Billboard...
Are you two of the same era?
Yes, Nora, we are.
What era?
Hello, son. Yes. But I love it. I love music.
Well, we grew up on it, is my point.
Okay.
If you want to know what's the top song now, you look online. And at Billboard now, we have a real-time chart that we do with Twitter. It changes every hour.
Yeah.
So it's much more instantaneous, and the entertainment industry is so different. Back in 1970, who knew what the top movie at the box office was? You went to see a movie because somebody recommended it, not because it was #1 or #5. It's very different now. There are many different charts, many different countdowns. Does it still matter? I like to believe it does.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah. I'm just reading all the biographical teasers that he used for songs. I mean, about Cher, he would say, a high school dropout and a runaway with a mother who was married 6 times coming up. I mean, that was,
and it's like a mystery. You want to know, who's that?
Who is that?
That sounds like an exciting life. What song is she singing?
And the George Michael introduction, he didn't want to say, I want your sex.
That's right. Back when George Michael had that hit in the 80s, he would introduce it as, coming up, George Michael's latest, because he wouldn't say that title. And then he'd introduce George Michael saying that in the song over and over and over again. But he wanted a family show. He wanted something fun.
Yeah.
And it was a little corny and a little bit wonderful. It's the way that a lot of us grew up listening to music.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Was it heard around the world?
You know, it was heard with interruptions in America for almost 40 years. I believe it was syndicated around the world.
Yeah, corny is not always a bad thing. Thank you, Joe Levy.
Thank you.
Always good to see you.